And we are back. Welcome to the first ever exclusively player review video on the channel. Now, there are two reasons why I am doing this. Firstly, it is because I'm just interested to see how the views go in terms of splitting up the player reviews from the packs. Obviously, the pack videos do get the most views, but I have had my player reviews inside those videos. So I'm just interested to see how the player reviews do on their own. Secondly, it also means I can get these reviews out while the players are still available in SBCs and objectives. I've sort of been doing them at the end of the week after the majority of the SBCs have expired, so they're not really that useful to you because you can't go back and complete an SBC. That's already expired after I've said that they are worth doing. So this is just going to be an experiment for the next couple of weeks. I'm going to do my reviews on Sundays so you guys can then make your decisions based off of my information. And yeah, let's just get straight into the first team. So on your screen now is the first team that I used in FUT Champions this week. A whole host of players that we picked up over the course of the last week. And we are going to start with the most expensive SBC in this squad, and this is Pedri. Now, for me, this is a card that you 100% should be picking up. He is absolutely quality. He feels so good on the ball. Of course, he's got the 93 agility and the 95 balance, makes him so mobile on the ball. You could even potentially give him something like a hunter or a catalyst and play him out wide. He, of course, can default play as a left wing, but I have been using him in the center of the pitch where he has been absolutely phenomenal. Now, I have chosen to give him a gladiator. The reason for this is because it gives him plus 15 finishing, as well as significantly boosting those defensive stats. Most importantly, that slide tackle to get it in line with the standing tackle. Despite the fact that he's not the strongest, it makes him really good in the tackle. So as a box-to-box midfielder, just flat out centre mid, or maybe as a box-to-box CDM if you play two CDMs, this is a card that you really want in your team. Fantastic links being Barcelona and Spanish, and with team of the season just round the corner, he is going to be someone that is going to have some fantastic links going into team of the season, with Barcelona the team with the most team of the seasons most likely. That being said, the fact that team of the season is so close may be the only potential drawback of doing this card, because he's probably more than likely to pick up a team of the season himself. However, given the fact that his honourable mentions had 5-star skill and this card has a 5-star weak foot, I think there is a potential that you could see this guy getting like a 95, 96 team of the season with 5-star, 5-star. And if that's the case, you're looking at a card that is going to be well over 1 million coins to purchase. So for me, this card is an absolute must. Get him in your teams. At the very least, get him in your clubs. And speaking of team of the season, that is why I have got Incl and Kante concepted down here. They're both over 1 million to craft. Kante nearly upwards of 2 million coins to craft. We are literally 3 to 4 weeks away from Team of the Season. And the moment Team of the Season hits, yes, these two cards will still be able to craft during Team of the Season, but pretty much every single Team of the Season will be better than these two cards. So my review on these two is flat out, don't do them, because they're not going to be worth it in 2 or 3 weeks' time. As for the rest of the players in this squad, well, next we'll move on to Iwobi. Again, really enjoyed this card. As a central cam, I gave him a Deadeye, and he is incredible. The 94 dribbling, you notice it immediately in game. Despite the fact that he's 6'1", he is so agile on the ball. Really tough to dispossess because he's 6'1" as well. For me, his best position was as a central cam with a Deadeye. However, I did try him out on the wing and up front with a Hunter, and he is very dangerous in those positions as well. The only real drawback on this card is this 74 stamina. So if you are going to use him, I would say if you want him to play the full 90 minutes, then give him a Hunter, play him at striker, then the stamina isn't really an issue. But if you are going to play him as a central cam or as a wide player, just be aware that he is not going to last the full 90 minutes, so make sure you have someone on the bench, possibly someone explosive like the likes of Musa Diaby, Angel Gomez, several other players around that sort of ability bracket to come on for him so you can continue to be destructive from the position that he played in. But considering he is not overly expensive, in my opinion, for me, Alex Iwobi is an absolute pickup. As for the final non-packed pooled player in this team, we have Hosulu up front, and I have to say I really enjoyed this card. considering the fact that it's just free, you do him by playing squad battles, he is a really, really good card in game. What I would say is you have to play him in a 2 up front formation. You can't have this guy lead the line on his own. If you give him a hunter and play him as a striker, you will then notice that his dribbling isn't quite up to it, his physicality isn't quite up to it, and you will then notice that up against the top level players. But in a 2 up front formation, on a marksman, you then see he gets 98 strength. His shooting goes through the roof towards the 99s. His actual dribbling, ball control, all go up towards 99 as well. And that's where you can really make the full use of this guy. Backing into defenders, using his 5-star skills to get away from players. He's got 90 short passing to feed it in to his strike partner. And not only that, he's got the 99 finishing, which means that if he can get half a yard, create the space, using 1-2s with his second strike partner, he is then very lethal in front of goal. So if you want a little bit of fun, you want to experiment with a card, the most likely chances are you've already picked up this card. I would say do not SBC fodder him yet. Give him a run out. He's an awful lot of fun. And I would strongly suggest getting him in a team this week. As for the 2 pack pool players in this team, Koke I was really disappointed with, to be honest with you. I expected a lot more from him, considering the fact that he's got really, really good stats. The 5-star skill isn't really useful on him. I would have much preferred the 5-star weak foot one. But what disappointed me the most was his passing. He's got 90 all-round passing. Some of those passing stats are incredible. And he just kept giving the ball away. Simple 5-yard passes weren't working for him. The 85 dribbling, more specifically the 77 agility, was very noticeable. It was really unsure how I should be using him. Maybe I should have tried him out on an engine. That might have made him a little bit more effective in those areas. But then he loses some of the tackling stats and he needs the anchor if you're going to use him effectively as a box-to-box. Like I say, maybe on an engine or on a finisher as a cam, he might be slightly different. But for me, this Koke was not worth it. Chikwueze was an awful lot of fun though, considering the fact that he's only 20 to 25k on the market, and he links to Iwobi, and he links to Osimhen and Okocha and whatever if you've got those sort of players. If you've got the Juan Foyth fantasy objective card, he links to him as well. So considering he's 20 to 25k, he's just worth a little look if you do fancy a little bit of fun. Now, on to the other squad, where we then had a whole bunch of other players that we tried out. And starting with this guy, Disasi, should I say. This is a must pick up card, in my opinion. He is one of the best centre-backs on the game right now. He has got some fantastic links. Flashback Ramos, Lafont, and Mbappe. Perfect link to Ben Yedder. If you did the Vanderson SBC, he's a club link to him as well. So many meta cards linked to this guy right now. And at 6'3" and those defensive and physical stats, he is an incredible, incredible centre-back. And not only that, because he's got the 5-star skill, more the fact that he's got 4-star skill, it just makes him more flexible on the ball. You can be in tight situations with him and turn your way and skill your way out of those situations. He can push on into midfield if you've got a holding midfielder that can come in and compensate for him pushing forward a little bit. And he's just so flexible on the ball. He is an absolute must pick up. He's relatively cheap as well, in my opinion. So if you've not done this card yet, you run Ligue 1 players in your squad, absolutely 100% pick up this Disasi card. And before we get to Antonio, I'm just going to mention Lafont as well, because this Lafont card right now, in my opinion, is the best goalkeeper on the game. He is absolutely unbelievably good. 6'5", and those goalkeeping stats alone are why he's so good. But then on top of that, to have a goalkeeper with a 5-star weak foot is so useful. Again, if you're under pressure, you can pass it back to him, and then he can play it out either way. And again, if you want to have a little bit of fun, whack in a 5-star skill move with him as well. If you're under a little bit too much pressure and you know how to use skills, you can certainly use Lafont to get out of a dangerous situation. But absolutely insane goalkeeper. And the fact that he's only looking at around 40k to pick up. Again, if you're running Ligue 1 cards, you're running the likes of Mbappe in your team, Lafont should 100% be your goalkeeper. So as a pair, these two are a must pick up for about a combined cost of 100 to 150k. If you've not got these two and you're running Ligue 1, get these two. However, the final player that we will review in terms of the team is this Antonio. And I have to say, despite the stats that he has accumulated, for me, this Antonio card is not worth it one bit. He felt very heavy. I feel like you'd have to give him an engine to make the full use of his actual dribbling attributes, but then you don't get the finishing boosts. He's too short to have the physicality be any use to use, which is why I ended up giving him a Hawk, because then at least he's got strength and aggression to deal with the high-end meta centre-backs. But even then, his finishing then isn't quite up to it. His pace isn't quite up to it. He still did relatively well. Like I say, the stats don't lie, but for me, there are so many other strikers available to you that are better than this card. In the Premier League alone, let alone across the whole course of the entire game. And then the fact that he's Jamaican and West Ham. I mean, you can see for yourself in the team. I've had to use a Gerd. Not that there's anything wrong with a Gerd, but you know what I mean? This is not a high-end centre-back. And I've had to put a Gerd in the team just to compensate for Antonio being in the team. So considering how expensive Antonio is, considering how many other options are available to you, for me, Mikel Antonio is a pass, and do not do this card. He is just not worth it. Finally then, we will round off today's video by talking about the Fut Birthday players and the Fut Birthday Party players. And for me, this whole set isn't worth it, with the possible exception of Gregor. You will get this card just by scoring 4 finesse shots in squad battles and rivals. For me, he's a lot of fun. You can play him further forward with the likes of a finisher or a marksman or a hunter, and he's a really good cam. I used him with an anchor as a CM/CDM, and he was really useful in there as well. From that point onwards, the rest of this objective is not worth it. Maldini is pretty terrible in game. You can tell he's got poor composure and reactions. They really are noticeable in game. He's slow to get to anything useful defensively, and he makes a lot of mistakes. For me, this Jesse Lingard as well, considering you have to play, I think it's 17 games just to get this Lingard. Considering the fact that we've already talked about Iwobi being so good in this video, you've then got the likes of Mount and Grealish that most of you would have completed from Footballers. This Lingard just doesn't stack up to any of those cards. So if you've not started the Fut Birthday Party, do not go any further than Gregor, because Lingard is not worth the 17 games. And as fun as Alessandrini is, the fact that you then have to play, I think it's a total of 25 to 30 games just to unlock this Alessandrini card. He plays in the Chinese League. There is no other Chinese League special card this year other than this Alessandrini. So you'd have to use 9 French players just to get this Alessandrini on full chem. And then you run into the same situation as several other cards we've spoken about, where there are just so many better alternatives all round. So for me, don't waste your time doing the Fut Birthday Party. There are several better things you could be doing with your time on this game this week. And that is going to be it for this week's first initial player review video. Let me know down in the comments how many of the SBCs you have completed and how many you are going to be completing. Let me know your thoughts on the teams that I've built. We do something like this every single week. You would have seen from the pack opening videos. We make fun and funky teams every week to test out new players. We will do this once again next week with all of Team 2's Fut Birthday players and pack pulls. Thank you very much for watching. I'll see you very soon.